So now when we know how to navigate in our file system, let's speak a bit more about what users are. We can speak about users and put everything into very much detailed way. I think the best thing for beginners is that we begin to speak about the basic fundamental of like what is a normal user and what is the root user. If you follow the tutorial from the installation, I mentioned that a root user is a sort of an administrator. It's a super user, so that user have full power of the system. So the best thing, of course, is to avoid and be careful when you use the root user, because if you execute a shell script or something like that as the root user, or a program as root user, that will run with root privilege. So that means that basically we can really damage the system really bad if we are not careful what we're running with root. And remember that when you are using the root account, as I do now, it will never ask if I want to delete something. It's not like in Windows that it asks, are you sure you want to delete all this? That doesn't happen in Unix-like system, because it just deletes everything without asking. Just so you know. So now in this system we don't have any users more than the root user. Let's say that I want to add myself as a normal user. Then I do like this. Add user is a command, and you don't need to make any postfix to add something after add user. You can just run it as it is. Now it wants to, because this is like a shell script that is creating a user by asking interactively for us. And what name do I want it to have? And here is the user ID. I recommend that leaving it for default. The login group, here I can invite myself to other groups. By default, my own group is the name of the user, so the group is Ronnie. If you want to invite a normal user to the root group, you should invite it to a group named wheel. But I don't want to invite myself to any user right now, any group. And then I don't want to invite into other group. And then the login class can be left default. Here it's asked what shell I want to use. Here I have to start with, you have all the options here of available shells. This is the corn shell. If I'm not wrong, it's this one that root user is using right now. The no login means that the user exists on the system but cannot log into the system. There are some cases you want that. We will cover that later. Let's say I want the CHSH corn shell. Home directory. This is /home/Ronnie. This can be left default as it is now, but don't worry too much about it. I always leave the home directory permissions default like that. Do we want to use password-based authentication? Of course we want. We don't want to use empty password. Use a random password. If we take yes here, it will generate a random password for us. It's good in case that you're creating users and you don't want to make up any password like, for example, generating like 20 user accounts. Perhaps you want to have like a random generator for each, and then you can just copy paste the password and to send it to the user and say, hey, you have a new account, please log in and change your password. Here we can enter a password. It's not echoed, as you can see, means that it's not displayed on the screen. Lock out the account after creation. If we do this, if we select yes here, then we are locking it out. It means that the user cannot log in. So no is the default, and I just press return there. Here you have opportunity to check all the gathered information after we created the account to see if everything's correct. If it's correct, you just type Y or yes. If it's not, N or no. There is a thing I want to point out here. User ID, which is the UID, as you can see, is 1001. The user ID is unique for each user. So the next user I create will become 1002. The third user becomes 1003, the fourth 1004, and so on. Normal users begin with number 1000 in UID. Special users that are dedicated for the system purpose are below 1000 span. So they can be like 1, 2, 3, 100 and things like that. Might be interesting to know. And as you see, groups, if I have myself invited to my own group, in case I were inviting myself to more groups, when it stood invite to other groups, which stands up here, if I select the wheel here to have the permissions to switch to root user whenever I want, then it would stand wheel here also as an added group. We can check that later in more advanced topics. Yes, I want to create this user. And then it says that it successfully added this user to the database. Do we want to add another user? If you want, you can, but I'm pretty happy here with this user. Okay. So I'm logged in with root. I can easily switch to another shell in FreeBSD by holding the Alt key, and press F1 to F4. Not sure how many keys there are actually, but F1, F2, F3 I think should do the trick, if I'm not wrong. And if I just hold Alt and press F2, I get to another terminal. If I hold Alt and press F1, I return back to this terminal. Remember that Unix-like systems are multitasking, so we can have more users at the same time on them. So if I try to log in with my username here, I successfully logged in as a normal user. Now you can see that here we have a percentage, and on the other one, which is the root, I have a hash mark. The hash mark means that this is the root user. So, how do I know who I am? One way is to see here, stands Ronnie at the server hostname. Another way is to type who am I as a command, and it will echo to us who we are. Same if I go to this and type who am I, you see that I'm root here. And what happens if I'm on the root account and imagine I'm a server administrator, and if I type who, then I will get another type of information up. I will see that all users that are currently logged on to the system. So then I see that root is logged on the virtual terminal 0. Ronnie is logged on the virtual terminal 1 and was logged on during this time. So that's how I can do that. I'm not sure about this. I need to check this before I say what happens if I type this as a normal user. Okay, I can see the users as well there, even if I'm a normal user. Was not sure about it actually, if that was restricted, but it wasn't. Okay, let's say that I log out from the normal account And let's say that I'm an administrator and I say, wait a bit, that user shouldn't log on anymore. I want to lock him out. pw lock followed by the name of the user. I want to point out that pw is a great utility to manage user accounts, and you can make advanced things with it. So that's something you can remember and check later on, and we will see if we can make some cool things with it. When I run this pv lock command and try now to log in as my normal user here, it says login incorrect. That's because I'm locked out from the system. As you noticed, it wasn't giving any hint that I've been locked out from the system. Let's say I want to unlock the user. pv unlock followed by the username. Now when I try, it works. I successfully logged in. Oh wait, what did I do? Did I log in as root? I mean, okay, now that worked. And just me. Login failures on names are login root. Okay, whatever. Okay, notice that I'm the normal user right now here. See the name there. If I do like this, pvd, remember what that command was? It's like to list the current directory standing inside. You can see that /usr/home/Ronnie is the home directory for this user. If I go over to the root account and type cd to get to the home and then pvd, you see that the root directory is not even connected with the normal users, because root is on /root. It's on the root drive, a root category. But for normal users, they are gathered inside of a home directory. So if I created another user, Ronnie and the other user would be inside /usr/home. So if I do ls usr home, you can see that that directory is there. And if I do a more detailed preview here of directory listing, you notice that this directory, Ronnie, is having the user owner is Ronnie and the group is Ronnie there. So it belongs to the user. And so it's not username, because remember that the group, when you create the user in a Unix-like system, it also creates a group with the username. And another thing we can mention here is that if I list from the root folder, you see that there's a home directory there. If I do ls/home, you can see that my directory is there. Now you might be a bit confused, like, wasn't the home directory in here, /usr/home? That's correct. This is the absolute certain path that the home directory is inside. But on the other hand, when we look here, you see that if you look here on the attribute distance, you see directories are D on this left hand side, but here's a pattern L. You might wonder what that is. That means that it's a linked. It's a soft link or wait a bit. I think it's okay. I will let this be untold there, but it's a link. However, don't remember if it's a soft link or a hard link. I think it's should be soft link. It should be. So it's a soft link that points from. So home is a symbolic link that points to, you see the arrow there, that points to usr/home. It's like a shortcut, basically. So this shortcut creates a link like home points to usr/home. So this one is the correct path, while home is a sort of a shortcut to this one. I don't know why it's like that exactly, but it is like that, and that's how it is. Okay, now I log out this user, and let's say that this user is no longer in use on the system, and I want to remove it. So to remove the user then, deleting a user, then we need to use the command rm user. The rm user command is like remove user followed by the name. In this case, when we run this command, we need to be a super user root to be able to remove the user, because else user would be able to remove users, and that wouldn't be desired. However, let's look in the manual. If you look in the handbook of FreeBSD and look at user synopsis, you see that the rm user, to completely remove a user from the system, use rm user as super user. This command performs in the following steps. It removes the user's cron tab, which is like an what can we say? It's a time schedule we can put. Like the user can make a time schedule of things that should happen different times, different repeated time patterns. Like every hour, every second, this should happen. Every weekday this should happen. We will cover that later. It's a useful tool. It will remove jobs belong to the user, kill all the process owned by the user, and this is like programs that the user has been spawned. It has started some program. This will be killed. It removes the user from the system local password files, it says, and you see some things here. It's removing incoming mail files belonging from the user, removing all files owned by the user, such as in the temporary folder, and then let's see what happens. You can read this more in detail if it's interesting to know in detail what's happening. But not to make the video too boring, I will run this command now. And it really asks us to be sure, like it brings out information like this user followed by this username and a group by use ID and a group ID with this home directory and that shell will be removed. Is this what you wish? Yes. And then remove the user's home directory. If I want to remove it, then yes, else no. Let's say if I want to make a cleanup here. Removing user. So if we look now, there is no home directory left there. And remember that was a shortcut, the home. I see here. See, there's nothing left there. So basically we've been making a very, very basic user management in FreeBSD. And this is BSD specific, I believe. I don't think it's the same in Linux-like operating system. I mean Unix-like operating system such as the Linux one. But not sure, I'm not using that so much so I can tell that directly. But I think this is BSD specific, to be honest. So... the user management, but the home directories are the same principle. Alright, so this was a very simple tour of user management. If you want to dig into details, we can later make a more advanced video about handling groups, what are the permissions, how to put different permissions on file to different groups and things like that. And much more you will explore by yourself when you Google for information, and when you find situations yourself want to fix, like I want this user to reach this file. This is the things we normally discover after we need the situation. After the situation happens, we need it to be solved. Alright, so I think the next step is to basically create files. and basically edit files like text files, then we will start learning one of the biggest pain for beginners, and it's the VI and the Vim editor. It's an editor that is very special compared to ordinary editors. But once you get hang of it, I think you might like it. I would say, yeah, I really like it. Now I'm using it very easily because I've been forced to use it so much. So the VI editor we will learn about is a must to know in Unix-like operating system. So let's move over to the next lesson.